Okay, here we are. It's Wednesday. It is June 10th. This is the Bring Me the News Novak weather update, weather briefing for you here. I'm Tom Novak, and we're talking about a lot of rain that fell over the last 72 hours across the upper Midwest. And of course, lots of people got the rain, while some did not. And we're going to really get into that here over the next few minutes during our video. Right now, you're looking at a visible satellite loop. And you can clearly see that a fresh northwest breeze now is coming into much of Minnesota, scouring out the clouds that have been persistent over Wisconsin and eastern Minnesota and Iowa. They're slowly but surely pushing off to the east, and you're seeing some stratocumulus clouds now over much of Minnesota. These are those low, bumpy clouds that also let in a little bit of sunshine, but it's indicative of colder air aloft. And that means that we are going to be cooling off quite a bit at night, again, as that beautiful Canadian northwest flow starts to dominate. And that's going to be the case here over the next 3 to 5 days. So good news if you're looking for dry weather. Now, some people are not looking for dry weather in Minnesota. Even though many of us have received plenty of rain, I want you to focus on what's happening still here over central and northern Minnesota. Now, not as much northern Minnesota because they did receive some rain over the last 3 days. But this is the drought index map that was released last week, okay? A fresh one, by the way, is coming out tomorrow. But I really want you to focus on what's happening here. There are some abnormally dry and moderate drought conditions. You can see it here that are located over west central and central Minnesota. Really what it comes down to is anywhere from the Twin Cities, especially the northwestern Twin Cities suburbs, on north and west, it's dry. Okay, and when we look at the observed precipitation over the last 3 days, basically since Sunday, that's the exact area that did not get much rain over the last 3 days. Okay, so the areas that didn't need the rain, like southeastern Minnesota and much of Wisconsin, they received 1, 2, 3 inches plus of rain over the last 24 to 48 hours. Northwestern Minnesota is experiencing flooding right now due to these heavy rains up there. But yes, this area of west central Minnesota and central Minnesota from about the Twin Cities on north and west to Alexandria and then out to Marshall, Minnesota, these areas needed rain, and only a few people out in that portion of the state received rain. So, and I've got bad news for those of you that are looking for rain, because it looks like it's going to be mostly dry here over the next 3 to 5 days. All right, here's the Jetstream wind structure from the NamNest computer model. And look at what's happening. As of this morning, you can see we were kind of in a transition period. Winds were coming up out of the Gulf Coast and from the south over Wisconsin, while northwesterly winds were now starting to come into the Dakotas and western Minnesota. Now watch what happens, of course, during the day today. The northwesterly winds aloft really start to prevail, so that by Friday, this is by about noon on Friday, we have a stiff west to northwest wind in the upper layers of our atmosphere, and that actually comes down to the surface too. So a dry, cool, fresh northwesterly flow is going to be dominating our atmosphere not only tomorrow, well, even later today, but tomorrow, Friday, and then even into this weekend. As we look at Saturday evening, you can see that northwesterly breeze is still in place across the upper Midwest. So yeah, we're going to be experiencing cooler than average temperatures here for the next several days, along with a fairly stiff, breezy north to northwest wind across much of the upper Midwest, including Minneapolis and St. Paul and the state of Minnesota. And along with that, and like I said, is going to come cooler than average temperatures. Now, our average high should be in the mid to upper 70s for this time of the year. And as we go through time, and as we go into tomorrow, look at where our temperatures are going to be located. We're going to be near normal as far as temperatures are concerned in southern Minnesota tomorrow, with temperatures in the mid to upper 70s. So actually a beautiful day on tap for tomorrow. Of course, it's going to be breezy out of the winds out of the northwest. But look at this cool air that is pooling up over Manitoba and western Ontario. And that cool air is going to make a beeline towards southern Minnesota as we go into Friday and Saturday. In fact, look at what happens as we get into Friday afternoon. Temperatures in the upper Midwest, in Minnesota and Wisconsin, will be only in the 60s and low 70s across much of our region. That's about 5 to 10 degrees below average. And then as we get into Saturday, Saturday morning is going to be cool with temperatures in the 40s and low 50s. And then Saturday afternoon, we may not even get out of the 60s over much of Minnesota. Look at this. Temperatures even in the Twin Cities metro on Saturday in the mid 60s the way it appears. So those temperatures are a good 10 to 15 degrees below average. So if you want dry weather and cool, fresh breezes, the next 3 to 5 days is going to be perfect for you. Now, looking way ahead as we get into next week, this is the Jetstream weather pattern from the European Computer Model Guidance. Okay, and this is for early Wednesday now of next week, so basically about a week from today. Yes, it's a long ways in the future, but guidance has been pretty consistent with this pattern developing in our atmosphere next week. We're getting a strong southwesterly flow in the upper layers of our atmosphere at 30,000 feet that's going to be pumping much warmer air into the upper Midwest as we get into the middle portions of next week. In fact, temperatures at the surface, even as we look at the European Computer Model Guidance, it is showing that temperatures will be approaching the low to mid 90s over much of the upper Midwest as we get into Wednesday of next week. So, a long story short, if you don't want this cool, what I consider beautiful fresh breeze out of Canada, just wait. You won't have to wait too long, because by next week we're going to be experiencing well above average temperatures for much of next week, and that of course could easily lead to an active period which would feature showers and some thunderstorms, and some of that activity could be severe as we get into next week. I mean, even looking towards Friday of next week, again, a long ways away, but we're still looking at 80s and 90s across portions of the upper Midwest, if you believe the European Computer Model Guidance, which has been fairly consistent with this pattern for the last several days. All right, with that, I'm going to let everybody go. Thank you for joining this Bring Me the News update and weather update from Novak Weather and Bring Me the News. I hope everybody has a great evening.